Hello everyone, Eva here and welcome to the next episode of Outside of Life, where I chat with inspiring artists and create various art-related videos. Before we go to the interview, I wanted to let you know that my course Storytelling with Color and Light is now available for you at artsideoflife.com/color. I designed the course for beginner and intermediate artists, breaking the big topic of color and light into smaller parts to help you understand the main concept so you can make your artworks appealing and believable. So check it out at artsideoflife.com/color. And now, let's go back to the interview. My guest today is Yan, also known online as Yansculpts, and in this episode, Yan shares great thoughts on how to deal and overcome the art frustration. Yan is a 2D and 3D artist, most known for his YouTube channel called Yansculpts, where he shares awesome Blender tutorials on sculpting, textures, speed paints, time lapses, and much more. He's currently on his 10,000 hours journey to improve as an artist, working hard and making art every day with the mission to help other artists to become really good. And now, please welcome Yan and let's get to the interview. So, welcome everyone to the next episode of Outside of Life, and I'm super happy to have Yan here. Hi!
Hey, what's up? I'm very, very glad to be here too.
Cool. I'm super happy that you joined, and let's just start with at the beginning, and maybe you can share some of your biggest turning points, how you got where you are now, and some of your creative outlets as a child.
Yeah, definitely. This is the part where I told you earlier that my answers are going to be a bit weird compared to other artists. I hated art when I was a kid. I had my reasons. I didn't want to be an artist. My parents are architects. And I never expected to be where I am today. So I can't say that when I was a kid, something happened that made me an artist. It's really not the case.
And did you like, skateboarding, or what was the kind of like other stuff?
Sports. Yeah. I loved basketball when I was a kid. I used to dream to be a professional NBA player. That happened. Anyways, so I really loved sports. I do all kind of sports from basketball to boxing to I still do sports right now. And I think that was my biggest passion when I was a kid.
Yeah, and how was the transition then for you to start with 3D? How did that come to be?
Well, first of all, for viewers who know me through my channel, I talk a lot about how I don't really see myself as a 3D artist. I see myself as a character artist. For me, art stems from something like drawing. You know, it's not before you go to 3D, you got to learn how to draw, and that started very recently for me. I started drawing a year ago. Not even. I mean, last July is when I started seriously taking it. Cool. And that's when I started taking it seriously, I guess. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. And can you maybe share that story, like what kind of pushed you this direction? Like, now I want to start drawing.
I guess I got to go back a little to the past. So I'm actually a graduate here in France. I did 5 years. I did master's. Now, the school I went to is not really an art school. I thought it was an art school, but it wasn't. It's more of a management school. So the first year is a prep year. And the reason I went to it is because in the prep year, you get a lot of different choices from web development to, Photoshop, design, illustration, that kind of stuff, to 3D. 3D was one of the things. And I think there were 5-6 choices. But anyways, so when I went to the prep year, the first thought I had in mind, I'm like, 2 things I'm not going to do. 1 is 3D, 2 is web. I'm like, these are the 2 things I am not going to choose at the end of the year, because you had to choose. You had to do a project and choose. And fast forwarding, what happened in the first year is I had a class with a scenario, scenarist, a professor. It's about writing the story, basically. They asked us to page. And we had like a week. Every week was different, right? We had like 3 days in that week to do the project, whatever they asked, and move on. So I wrote this little story. He asked us for, I think, a page. I did like 6 pages. I just got really into it. And I think that stems down to because I watched a lot of anime as I grew up, and there's a lot of stories going on, and I just started writing. And the professor called me and he was like, what do you want to do in the future? I'm like, I have no idea. And he told me, you have something here. Like you could write stuff, right? And I was kind of surprised because I really suck grammatically and all that kind of stuff. I'm not good with language because I don't really read books. But I took a look at all the choices we had in the first year, and it seemed to me that the 3D path would be the path where I could, because I was a visual person in a way, not really an artistic way, but I loved visuals. Like I loved anime, I loved that kind of stuff. So I thought that was the thing where I could be creative and tell a story. Yeah. And that's how I chose 3D. That's how I chose the thing that I spent the next 4 years in school doing. But in the second year, we studied some 3ds Max. So it's a program for anybody who doesn't know. That's not the one that I use right now. And it's just an introduction. Every week we'd have a different professor. And I wouldn't really call them professors because there are people who come from companies, from other places. So they didn't necessarily know how to teach because it's a different skill. But yeah, they kind of did what they can.
Yeah,
and
but it's more like real life experience. So
it is.
The other aspect even like better to see how it works in a real life.
I wouldn't say so, to be honest. I'd say it was a bad experience.
Okay.
My university life was not a good experience. Hopefully they're not watching, but no, I'm sure they did their best. But
so it wasn't a good fit for you.
No, because up until the 5th year, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I don't think any of the professors gave me any real good advice throughout the years. They were maybe skilled, but they did not know how to teach. They did not know how to guide the person. And they come for a few days. So I understand, right? So I was kind of lost for 4 years. I did not know what I wanted to do. But what I knew, the thing that was certain for me is I wanted to do something with my life. Yeah. But I didn't know what. Anyways, so around the 3rd year and 5th year, we had an internship. And the first one I did in a company that does a lot of luxurious work for, well, actually, they do publicity for luxury products such as, can I say the names?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Yes, that's Saint Laurent or Chanel and these kind of stuff. So I did a lot of After Effects. I did a lot of stuff, right? Not only, I never did characters actually in the beginning. And I did it for 6 months, completely hated it.
At least you found out what you don't like.
yes, that's probably how I got to where I am today. I had a very bad experience. I felt like I was wasting my time. I felt like I was in the company just to do what, they just wanted me to do the work, but I wasn't really learning much. So 5th year, I did another internship. I actually went for a 3D internship this time. And that's around the time I started getting interested in characters. But I didn't really start yet. So I went to this company. I'm not going to say the name of the company just in case, but it's a big company here in France. And I did 6 months, and that was a horrible experience too. I think my manager would agree with me. I at that time, I wanted to be a character artist, but they had no projects for that, even though they knew that's what I wanted. And they just give me all that little stuff that's just boring, plain boring. And if I wanted to be creative, they didn't want that. They didn't want someone creative. They wanted someone who do the job, which I completely understand, but miscommunication. So that's when I decided in that internship. I remember I went out for a break, called my best friend. Hey, by the way, if you're watching. And I told him, you know what? After I finish this, no matter what, I'm going to find a way not to work in a company. Okay, and that's how I started my YouTube channel and how I did a plan. I'm like, I'm going to do something with art. Yeah. But I didn't love art yet. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, should I continue? Or
yeah, of course.
All right, sorry about that. So I know it's a bit long. So I got to that point and I'm like, okay, there are cool YouTubers online. I knew some YouTubers. And I know what kind of things succeed, what doesn't. And I knew that if I wanted to teach art, I had to be really good at it, So I had to learn how to teach. So that's a skill. And I had to learn how to be an artist, another skill. And that's what I did. I spend every day. I just said, I want to be a character artist. I want to be good. I look at these amazing art. I feel like I might enjoy it if I'm that good, right? Yeah. So I grinded in the hours. I spent hours drawing. I spent hours sculpting. And what started as the most frustrating experience of my life, because it was people think that you need to find what you love. I disagree with that. Not everybody finds the thing they love, because who loves sucking at something? No one, right? Is that a bad word? I'm sorry. Like no one loves being bad at something. I think we can all agree to that. So maybe you could do it for a day, but not for a living. And I just kept on doing it. And at a point, it switched from something that I hated to something that I was completely in love with, that I do from the hour that I wake up till I sleep. And that's pretty much how I got where I am.
Oh, cool. And so how long did it take you to, like, from the time you decided, okay, I want to take it, like, I will learn about the character design and sculpting? Was it the year, as you mentioned, that you started drawing in a year, and did you draw every day, or how was this learning process?
I have a specific date. I started something called 10,000 hours, which is not a new concept, obviously. 10,000 hours exists, but it's a different thing. I started it in July 2017. I already had some sculpting experience throughout that year, so I was already able to sculpt. But being a sculptor is not necessarily the same as, like, being able to sculpt something is not necessarily the same as being an artist, in my opinion. So I couldn't really create designs the way I wanted to. Sometimes I just come up with something, but it's not what I had in mind. So in July 2017, I'm like, I'm going to start drawing every single day. Till I hit 10,000 hours. And the point was not getting to 10,000 hours. I don't really care about the hours. It was just to psychologically get me ready for a long road, because I know that anything in life, it takes time, it takes patience, it takes consistency, and a lot of stuff. So I started drawing every day with the YouTube channel, the sculpting and stuff. I actually put in the hours. I use my stopwatch. I'm very specific about it. Even if I take a break, drink coffee or whatever, I don't count down the hours, and I only count the hours that I actually put a pencil in a paper. And right now I'm almost at 600 hours. I've been drawing for over 200 days in a row, no exception, and that's how long it took me to get to where I am today.
Oh, cool. And so how did you plan on this? Did you, like, when you stopped, like, the internship, did you save up and then it's like, okay, I will take a year off, or did you have a part-time job, or how did you make the living on the side?
Let's just say I had some cash aside. I have some support from my family for the first period, and let's say that I sacrificed a lot, because I love partying. I love going out. I love hanging out with friends, and that costs money, right? And I used to do it 1 to 2 times a week with no exception. And right now it's been months since I did that. It's just, I completely cut it off. I'd eat less, still healthy, just for someone who, I go to the gym, so we actually eat a lot. So I had to cut down the food. I had to cut down anything. Like, I don't buy clothes. You have to. I mean, it takes sacrifice. Nothing just comes easy. And I knew that I wanted to put everything into this. I didn't want to find a side job and try to, you see what I mean?
Yeah,
so
because that can be distracting as well from the time, and because you have to focus on, like, making money or this and this, so you cannot focus on the, like, making the art better.
Yeah, and I'm sure your viewers, if they watched your videos, I'm sure you've went through artists who talked about how it's not just about creating art. There's just a lot going behind it. There's the business side, there's the paper side, there's the social life side, there's your health, there's the art itself, there's the content that you're creating, the video, the planning. It's just so much. It's so much.
Yeah, definitely. Because if you want to be self-employed, then it's like a business person, like, working with art, and then someone who is just starting out, maybe they don't realize it right away, and yeah,
definitely.
Before we continue, let's thank our sponsors. If you love discovering and trying out new art tools, you should check out Art Snacks. When you subscribe, you will get a box of high-quality art supplies every month. I have already discovered so many amazing new products, limited edition tools and exclusive supplies only available to subscribers. Art Snacks definitely helps me to get more creative and try different art techniques every month. There is also Art Snacks Challenge, where you can share your artworks using only the tools in the monthly box. You also get to join the Art Snacks Mix community, where you can talk with other artists like you, inspire each other and improve together. And because you are part of Artside of Life community, you will get a special 10% discount with the promo code ARTSIDE10. So don't wait, visit artsideoflife.com/artsnacks and use a promo code ARTSIDE10. If you are a digital artist, you will love Astropad. Astropad is an app that turns your iPad Pro into professional wireless graphics tablet for your Mac. I use it to work with Photoshop and Illustrator to create highly rendered artworks for my clients directly on my iPad. I was super excited to discover Astropad because the painting apps available on iPad don't have all the functionality like Photoshop. With Astropad, I can use all my favorite and custom-made Photoshop brushes, which is super cool. And because you are part of Outside of Life community, you will get an exclusive 10% discount on Astropad Studio licenses. To get started, go to outsideoflife.com/Astropad and enter the promo code ARTSIDE. And now, let's go back to the interview. And do you have some tips for the organizing tools or I don't know, the taxis and these kind of things, maybe like FreshBooks or Slack or Trello or some other apps you like?
If you're talking about a specific program, then not really, no. Mm-hmm. That's not how I organize myself.
So how do you organize yourself?
I think it's a skill like another. Mm-hmm. You can't do it right away. You got to learn how to be consistent, mm-hmm. and that takes time. And before I started art, as I said, I go to the gym, and I taught myself how to be consistent mm-hmm. throughout that. So I choose 5 days of the week. I chose 5 days for the gym, mm-hmm. and these 5 days, no matter what, I go. Even if it's 5 minutes, it doesn't matter. I go. No exceptions. Being sick, I don't know. Your pet's passing away. I'm sorry, but I'm not saying that if that happens, you don't do the exception. I'm saying mentally, the mindset has to be no matter what, I go. Mm-hmm. So that's the day that you don't go, it's a real crisis. You see what I mean? If you don't put yourself through that mentality, you won't go far in life if you want to really succeed. So that's how I advise someone to start. Choose something, it doesn't matter what, and be consistent with it. Choose 3 days a week always use these 4 days. It means if you want to do a fifth day, that's completely fine, but don't switch these days. If you say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it has to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And that's how your brain makes the connection, and it becomes so strong that it becomes second nature. And that's how I do it. I basically taught my brain that I wake up at a certain hour, I do a certain amount of work per day, mm-hmm. No matter what.
Yeah, so do you structure your days as well, that you have a creative time at the beginning and then in the afternoon you do some organizational, or how do you do the batch processing? Or
mostly I'd say, well, it changes from time to time. It's always good to freshen things up. But I'd say for the past few months, I usually wake up around 9:30. Mm-hmm. And by the time I drink my coffee, you know how it is. At 10, I start working. From 10 till 1. What is that? 3-4 hours? 10, 11, 12, 1. Yeah, 3 hours. I draw. I draw. Sometimes I practice, I don't know, figure drawing, whatever. It doesn't really matter, but I draw. And then I go to the gym at 1, go back around 3. I buy food, whatever. I get back. And then I start either sculpting mm-hmm. or I work on a YouTube video. Mm-hmm. That's usually what I do. And I do that until late night, around 10, 11. And that's when I usually, if I have time, go back to drawing. Yeah. This is how it usually goes. But sometimes, for example, for now, I'm working on a course on my channel, which is why I'm very, very busy with that. I have to start with that in the morning, because what you do when you wake up is what you're going to be most effective in. So I kind of do that, and I push drawing back to night or when it's rendering, because there's a lot of rendering going on. When it's rendering, I draw, stuff like that. So depends.
Yeah, and then the course you are planning, do you already know when you will release it, or do you want to share more about it?
Sure, definitely. So I kind of did this course, Sculpting for Beginners in Blender. By the way, Blender is not usually the program people use to sculpt. It's ZBrush, which is why a lot of people go like, oh, wow, okay, you use Blender. Anyways, so I did that course not a long time ago, a few months ago. And it wasn't really meant as a course to support the channel per se, because a lot of it is free on YouTube. And it's more like, if you want to support my channel, go ahead. And I got a lot of support from it. Which motivated me to do a real course for my supporters. And the one I'm working right now on is something similar, which is texturing in Blender for beginners. And you could find my latest tweets. You basically see what what the character looks like. And that course is going to officially be released next month, so March, right? I think. I don't know. March, around the 22nd or 29th. It's a Thursday. It's usually when I post my videos on YouTube. That's when I officially release it. However, I will do a pre-release in a few days. So this is usually only going to be known by my followers because it's going to be on Twitter, but not really on YouTube. I'm not going to post a video on it. So yeah.
And you will share it through Gumroad, or is it like on your website, or how are you going to?
I don't have a website yet. Gumroad, definitely. I'll let people know through my Twitter, Facebook. There's the YouTube community thing, the new one. I don't know if you're aware about it. Well, you could post to your followers without really posting a video. I might share it there. My patrons, and yeah, but the course is going to be on Gumroad. And a few months later, I put it on Blender Market. Probably, yeah.
Oh, nice. And maybe you can share some of the YouTube video tips if you want, for someone just starting out the YouTube channel, or just, just growing and from your experiences.
Definitely. There's a lot to say. I don't know, like, what do you mean? 2 minutes? 5 minutes? How much do you give me?
How much you feel like?
All right, okay. Actually, yeah, sure. Well, if you're interested in YouTube, I guess you're interested in social media, right? And I started it last year, beginning of 2017, and I spent that year focused on discovering how social media works. And I'm very curious with that kind of stuff. It's really fun. It's like a strategy game. And I got a lot of tips on that. First thing I got to say is it isn't what it seems. It's a lot more complicated. It takes time to learn. No matter how many tips I give you right now, it's still not enough to completely understand how it works. And even until today, I'm still lost, to be honest.
Plus, there are a lot of changes all the time.
All the time, a lot of changes. A lot of things are not said. They don't really tell you a lot of things. So first tip is there's always this fight between quality, quantity, right? Do I post more regularly to get more followers, or just quality? And I tried both. I tried more quantity than quality, I'll be honest. And not that I didn't put quality into my work, but with the set amount of time that I had, if I post right now, I post once a week. It's kind of restrains the amount of quality I can put into that video. I think if you want to explode in YouTube, you should go for quality and post like once a month, once or twice, but create really good videos. And the second thing you got to do is find out what people are searching for at that time. So, for example, today in Blender, the biggest thing is Eevee. It's a new Blender engine. It's technical stuff, not really important. When it came out, when the development started, the people that posted a video on that, they're the ones that got the most views. You see what I mean? So find what people are talking about. Find what people are doing. If you don't, then you're going for a slow growth. Like, at the same time, don't go for something you don't enjoy.
Yeah.
Kind of the hassle I go through. I don't go through topics that are very famous, such as fan art, for example. I'd love to do fan art. I don't do it for, I'm kind of scared of the copyright stuff. But anyways, so I don't go for stuff I don't enjoy, even though it's going to get me more views. I try to find the stuff that people are talking about that I enjoy. So that's what I advise you to do. Try to find something you enjoy, and then try to find the subject of that subject that's popular amongst people. Second thing is consistent. Goes back to consistency. If you're posting once a month, try to choose the same day, the same date. The same day, the same time, excuse me. I think that's a good idea. Also, choose choose more than one social platform. Just don't choose too many that it overwhelms you. That's what I did last year. For example, I think YouTube, Instagram, maybe Twitter. Twitter's a bit difficult to get into. Should be enough. Facebook, honestly, not even worth it. So these are the basic tips I can give you. And then algorithm is very complicated. The way your video, how well does it do, how fast does it grow, generally depends on the first 24 hours. In fact, from all the videos I check, because every time I post, I kind of look at the analytics and all. I think it depends on the first 2 hours.
That's
how well your
interesting,
video
yeah.
does.
But
Yeah.
it's probably also like on a type of video, if it is a tutorial or if it is
The
a, I don't know, speed paint, or I think all of these different ones, they go to different suggested feed and these kind of
Possible, yeah.
things, right?
I never thought of it that way. Sure, that could be one of the things. But also, just because your video did not do the first 2 hours, doesn't mean that in 2-3 months, for some reason, it explodes. It can happen. I've seen it happen to other YouTube creators, where your video just for some reason, because the way YouTube works is very different from Instagram and Facebook, is that a video can go viral anytime. Instagram and Facebook and the other stuff, it's only at the beginning. It's really just the first 24 hours. Otherwise, forget it. In YouTube, for example, if someone, a big channel or a big person, whatever, they see your video, share it, and at that time it gets a lot of views, I think the algorithm kind of figures it out, goes, oh, okay, you know what? This video has good content. A lot of people are watching it for long periods of time. So the watch time is the most important thing right now, from what I know. And that's when it goes viral. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. As you mentioned, also the percentage of the view, like how long. It doesn't matter if your video has 9 minutes or 50 minutes, but the percentage of the video watched, right? So if the bounce rate is like really high, that's not good.
Yeah. Comments, likes, and other stuff. So far, it makes no difference, honestly. I mean, probably very minuscule.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah. And so where people can find you the most on YouTube, I guess, or the other social media, as you mentioned, the Twitter, when your fans are like always checking there.
YouTube, you'll definitely see me posting a video per week. Twitter is more of a personal side. Like I talk about other stuff. I post some sketches. You see what I mean? So I think these two places are the best place to find me.
Yeah. And how did you develop your skills? What was your aha moment? Like if I do this, my drawings or my sculpting will be so much better.
I don't believe in these moments.
So it was progress for you.
Yeah. There are always aha moments when you're working. Like you're working like, oh, I did not notice that. But in reality, I don't really think of it as an aha moment. I think that all the progress you did before allowed you to notice this at a certain point. So, I mean, if you saw the same thing, like for example, you're drawing a head, usually draw it really wide, and then one day you draw it like less wide and like, aha, that looks better. But the fact is, if you did it at the beginning, you probably wouldn't have noticed that's a good thing and went back to the wide thing. You see what I mean? It's a progress thing.
So the studies. And so do you have maybe recommendations for where to study anatomy or like some resources you like?
Sure. Let's see. Classic Human Anatomy. I don't remember the full do I have a second to?
Yeah, sure.
Classic Human. This is the first book that I actually studied anatomy from. So, Classic Human Anatomy, The Artist's Guide to Form, Function and Movements. Book by Valerie L. Winslow. So this is the anatomy book that I studied. I gotta warn you, it's not fun because this is more anatomy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, theoretical.
Yeah, but it has artists in mind, so it's not exactly that. But yes, I think it's important to go through that period where you study anatomy. And the other really cool book I'm actually studying right now is Figure Drawing by Michael Hampton. And I take my time with it. So it's figure drawing, anatomy as well, but in a more artistic way, how to draw that form. So it doesn't really go too much into details of the anatomy I'd say these two.
Have you read Drawn to Life?
Drawn to Life? No, I did not.
Yeah, that's one you might enjoy as well. It's kind of about the gesture drawing and how to do also the observation from real life.
Oh, I typed that and found a Nintendo game. Is it just Drawn to Life?
It's
nothing else?
Yeah, by Walt Stanfield.
Book. Okay, I wrote it down. I'll check. Okay, found it. 20 Golden Years of Disney Master. Is that it?
Yeah.
All right, I'll check it out.
Oh, cool.
Thanks.
Cool. And if you think about the whole art career until now, is there something you would give as advice to young self, before you started? Something you wish you knew?
I was afraid you were gonna ask me that question. Oh man. Think about advice. It's such a tricky thing because There is no best advice, honestly. It's the way the advice is absorbed depends on the person and their current situation. So, for example, I'll just give a quick example. Being consistent is one of the best advice I've heard. But I've heard it many times before and it never really registered in my mind. See what I mean? So if you're not ready to hear that advice, it just won't work. But if I really have to give advice, I'd say work on your mentality and your style of life. Because without both of these things, you won't last long, because you're starting without a real structure. You're a lot more important than your art because your art is created by you. See what I mean? So I guess that would be my advice.
Oh, definitely. And if you think about the most difficult time in the artistic journey, maybe you can take us to that moment, and what was your key takeaway from that? Because that's where we usually learn the most.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. Man, most difficult time in my art journey. So I go through that all the time. I still do. I mean, you're always frustrated when you're trying to learn, but that's how you learn. It's when you're frustrated. It's when you're, when you're, I don't, you do art, right? When you're drawing, you're trying to learn something, you start getting frustrated, you start sweating, you start itching, and you go like, why is it not working? That's when you're learning, and that is the best thing you can ask for when you're doing art. If you feel comfortable with what you're doing, you're not learning, and you should stay away from that. And I think, sorry, that doesn't really answer your question, but I think that just changed your perspective. If you're seeing the frustration as a bad thing, you're going to have a bad time. If you see the frustration as, oh, that's a learning moment, then you're going to look for that frustration, and that's how you're going to learn.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because every time you are learning, then, it can be frustrating, as you said, so, but at least you can see the progress, and when you can compare where you were like a year ago and now, then you are like, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
And so how do you start a new project or a new drawing or new sculpting project? Can you take us through the biggest steps of, the thumbnails or sketches, and how you progress?
Oh, wow. There's no one particular way for me. I don't have a routine for that. Every single time I start in a different way. Sometimes it's from one of the practice sketches I'm doing. Sometimes I see some art online and just get an idea. Sometimes from music. Sometimes I don't really know how I start. I just start. I think it's because I'm used to doing something every day. So at a point, there's something that works. And I say, okay, this can be something. And I go for it. So, for example, the course I'm working on right now, the character, I did the character because there was this thing called Sculpt January by Zach, which I did a video on my channel where you sculpt every day, and I wanted to join the first few days. And you sculpt a character every day, and I'd spend like 1-2 hours. And one of the characters just looked good. I'm like, oh, she looks appealing. I can turn that into something. So I finished that sculpt, and then I'm like, oh, you know what? I can texture that character. And I textured that character. I'm like, okay, there's a lot of technique that I can teach people. Why not do that? And that's how it went. As for my characters, it could be planned. Sometimes it's not. It's just, yeah. And I don't really have clients. You said clients. I don't take clients.
Yeah. Right now, as you mentioned, because you are focused on your project.
Yeah.
And what about the future, and what would be your dream scenario, in like 5 to 10 years, maybe projects you would like to work on or characters you would like to create?
Projects.
Or I think the life scenario now, as well.
Yeah. I see what you mean. The thing is, I think it's such a difficult question. There's a lot of things. I mean, okay, I have short-term and long-term goals, right? So the short-term one is to make what I'm doing working, because it's still not something that's sustainable, right? It's not something that I can live off yet. It's not very stable. So that is my short-term goal, is I want to turn what I'm doing into something I can do every day without worrying about paying the bills or anything else, really. My midterm goal, I think, is, which wasn't the case before I started the channel, by the way. That's not why I started the channel. But I think I really enjoy getting emails from my audience telling me that they learned this and learned that. And I think I want to get to a point where I help a lot of people get really good. Not a little, like really good, whether they want to get a job at an industry or whatever. But more, I really want to teach them that life is a lot more than just doing what you're told, that you got to be your own person. So that's the kind of thing I want my channel to be. It's not a channel of tutorials, right? It's not a channel of how to sculpt in Blender. It's a channel of how to have the right mindset to become successful and do what you love. And I hope that one day I can get to that point. And the long-term goal is I have some ideas. I'd like to do short films like every other artist, so that's not new. I'd like to open another business I don't really want to talk about right now because it's not really something solid. I'd like to travel because right now I'm working so much I'm not traveling. I'd like to go back to partying a bit. I miss that. It's a long-term goal. No, I don't know. I mean, a lot of stuff, just like everybody else.
Oh, perfect. But it's good to think about the goals also short term and long term to see what you're working towards too. So that's definitely really good. And before we finish, maybe you can share last piece of advice or key takeaway, as you mentioned, what our audience should kind of remember from this discussion, like, you mentioned along the way.
Live your life. I mean, and I know it's something you hear all the time, but people don't do it. They don't live their life. They don't work hard enough to get there, right? Just live your life and don't wait for something to happen to you. Your dream job is not gonna come. The thing you want to do for the rest of your life is not gonna happen by itself. Your channel is not gonna explode by itself. So control your own life, because we're given a set of cards when we're born, right? Some things we can't control. From environment to family to our genetics to whatever. And until the day we realize and wake up and understand what we are, we'll never be able to control it. And we're just gonna, it's like we're zombies just living through whatever life gives us. So you need to get out of that and decide your own life by your own self, right? Just choose what you want to do and go for it, work hard for it. And I'm sure you can get there.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. And so that was a great kind of wrap up of the discussion.
Yeah,
so thank you so much again for being here. It was so nice.
Thanks for inviting me, man. I'm really happy that you did. It's a very nice to talk to you, seriously.
So awesome. It was definitely my pleasure, and hopefully everyone who is listening and or watching, they're inspired and like thinking about what are the future goals. So thanks everyone who joined as well today.
Yeah, definitely.
And see you in the next episode.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe because I post new videos every week. I would be also super happy if you let me know your thoughts in comments and give the video a thumbs up. You can find all the resources mentioned in this episode at artsideoflife.com. Just type a guest name in the search bar. There is also a couple of free artist resources ready for you. So if you want to listen to the interviews on the go too, make sure to check out the podcast at artsideoflife.com/podcast. Continue to inspire each other, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye!